Hey and welcome to another jazz standard guitar lesson from myself, Andy. Today we're going to take a look at Henry Mancini's tune, Days of Wine and Roses. I'm going to give you the chord shapes you need, you'll get a chart, go through the harmony so you understand what's going on. Anything I put on the screen you can get a PDF of, just check the description for a link to my website. So, the chord shapes you're going to need: F major 7, E flat 7, which we'll use the same shape for, D7 and C7 as well, root on the A string, D7 flat 5 flat 9, D9, and then we've got G minor 7, which we're going to also use for A minor 7 and B flat minor 7, D minor 7 on the A string, and then some other shapes. We've got E minor 7 flat 5, A7 flat 9, you can just play A7 if you can't do the thumb chord, G7, and then we've got F6. Again, if you can't do the thumb chord, just use F major 7 in this place. B minor 7 flat 5, and B flat 7. Same shape as the G7. So I'll put the chart on the screen. Let's look at the form first. So we've got 32 bars, so pretty common there. Now this, in terms of the way it breaks it up, I wasn't sure how to label it, whether it was kind of like A, B or A, B, A, C, but I've labelled it as A, B1, A, and then B2. And in these lessons I like to do what I call a 3-point check with the standard. First thing is the key signature, second thing is what chords are in and out of key, third thing is trying to understand out of key chords, as you know, hopefully they're either structures we know like 2-5-1s, major or minor, or they're secondary dominants, or maybe tritones or backdoor dominants. So first thing on that list to check, let's look at the key signature. What key are we in? So what chords would we expect to find? We've got one flat, B flat, and that means the key of F. So what would the harmonised chords be in the key of F? We'd have chord 1, F major 7, chord 2, G minor 7, chord 3, A minor 7, chord 4, B flat major 7, chord 5, C7, the dominant, chord 6, D minor 7, the relative minor, chord 7, E minor 7 flat 5, then we're back to 1. So we've got a few of those chords, and if you look at the chart, what I've done is I've made the blue chords in key and the red chords out of key. So in key chords we've got chord 1, we've got chord 2, we've got chord 3, we haven't got chord 4, we've got chord 5, we've got chord 6, and we've got chord 7. So everything red is out of key. So we're going to work through the standard and think about why these chords are there, thinking about either structures they are, like I said, 2-5-1s, or secondary dominants going to their 1 chords. So we start out on chord 1, F major 7. So we start out from this very stable point, and that's quickly gone. And I love that move because it's straight away we're out of key, so it does feel like you know it's going somewhere. And if that E flat 7 falls nicely into the D7 flat 5 flat 9, you can just play D7 if it's easier. And why does that work? What's going on? So chord 1, and I've labelled this next chord as flat 7 7. Why? Because the 7th chord in the key of F, as we saw a minute ago, is E minor 7 flat 5. So we flattened the E down to a E flat and made it dominant, which is why it gets that name. And then it moves down a semitone to a D7, which you could call the 6-7, so it's the 6th chord but made into a dominant. Or because of the next chord, I would probably call it the 5F2, which we'll get to in a second. So the E flat, first off, why does E flat to D7 work? Because E flat 7, if you've got E flat 7, that's the 5th chord of the key of A flat, so you'd expect it to go, which would be quite a move, wouldn't it? It doesn't sound so good. So why does it work? Well, the dominant of D7 is A7, so you might have expected this: F major 7 chord 1, then this secondary dominant A7 to D7, which would work very well. Plenty of songs do that. So what's the relationship between A7 and E flat 7? Well, if you get the root there and then find this note, the E flat, so A and E flat, like that, that interval is called the tritone interval. And what you can do is you can substitute the A7 for a dominant built off that note on the A string, which is an E flat. So you can substitute A7 for E flat, and it's a reciprocal thing, so you could substitute E flat for A7. So that's a tritone sub, which works really nicely chromatically, falling down to that D7. And the D7, why is it there? Look at the next line, our chord is G minor 7, chord 2. And D7 is the dominant of G. So D7s want to go to G chords. So that would be called the 5 of 2. We're on the 2 chord, so we're on a chord in key, and then straight away out of key. Move it up a minor third to B flat minor 7, E flat 7. Now, you could call the B flat minor 7 the minor 4, because we're in the key of F. The 4 chord would be B flat major. Now, a very common thing to do is to make that chord minor, and here we have it, the minor 4. But go to an E flat 7, and hopefully you recognise, you know, minor 7 to dominant 7th, that's a 2-5 in a major key. Just have to think what key that's from, and that is from the key of A flat. So B flat is, the minor 7 is chord 2 in A flat, and E flat 7 is chord 5. So far we've got chord 1, we've got this tritone falling down into the D7, then the D7 leads as a secondary dominant to G minor 7, chord 2, then we go up a minor third to a 2-5 in the key of A flat. We chromatically fall then into the next chord, A minor 7, which is chord 3, D minor 7, chord 2 again, chord 5. Now we'd expect to go to 1 here, but you know, we don't do that. We get this interesting move of E minor 7 flat 5, A7 flat 9, D minor 7, G7, G minor 7, C7. So what's going on with that E minor 7 flat 5 to the A7 to the D minor 7? Well, we could look at that in a couple of ways. Obviously that E minor 7 flat 5 is in key, it's chord 7. The A7's out of key. The D minor's in key, chord 6. The G7's out of key. G minor's chord 2. C7's chord 5. So the bit that's interesting for me is that, what's that? It's a minor 2-5, and it's a minor 2-5 in the key of D minor, which hopefully you know is the relative minor of F major. And quite often in a jazz standard, if it's in a major key, you'll find at some point the composer wants to work to the relative minor, and vice versa. If you're in a minor key, you might have a song which works to the relative major. So this is a minor 2-5-1 in the key of D minor, which is why that works and is such a strong move. But this next chord, G7, what's going on there? Well, that's the 5 of 5. So G7 is the dominant of C7, which we're trying to work to here, because we need to get to C7, chord 5, to get back to chord 1 to start off an A section again. The other thing to notice here is the movements in fourths. You know, E, A to D is a fourth, D to G is a fourth, G to C is a fourth. So some interesting moves there, typical common ways to move chords around in a jazz standard. We then hit the A section again, which is identical. So 1, then that, E flat falling down to this, go into the 2 chord, go up a minor third for the 2-5 in A flat. And we then hit the B section, the second B section, which is a bit different to the first one. So we go A minor 7, which is chord 3, D minor 7, then we go out of key here, B minor 7 flat 5, B flat 7 out of key, and then we have this moving in fourths kind of turnaround, chord 3, chord 6, chord 2, chord 5, chord 1, then a 2-5 at the end, so we can kick it all off again and go back to the start. So the interesting bit there is the out of key stuff as ever, the minor 7 flat 5 to the dominant. Now, a minute ago we had minor 7 flat 5 dominant, we had E minor 7 flat 5, A7, D minor 7, and actually believe it or not the same thing is happening here but from a different key. So B minor 7 flat 5 is chord 2 in A minor, and you'd expect the next chord to be E7 because that's the 5 chord in the key of A minor. So that you'd expect B minor 7 flat 5, E7 to A minor. That's a very typical move, but we've got the same thing that's happening with that E flat 7 earlier. So the tritone substitution of an E7 is a B flat 7. And by using that tritone substitution, in the bass it goes B flat B A, so we get the bum bum bum, which is why that works. And then this nice kind of moving in fourths thing, just, you know, it's inevitable we're going to get to that chord. So hopefully you can see how 2-5s, major or minor, are really worth knowing, and how by knowing that E minor 7 flat 5 to A7 is a 2-5 in the key of D minor, or that B minor 7 flat 5 B flat 7 A minor is a minor 2-5 in the key of A minor, albeit with the tritone substitution for the 5. That sounds quite complicated, and if you're not familiar with minor 2-5-1s, major 2-5-1s, you need to know them in all keys. There's no substitute for knowing that. You just have to know that stuff. So if that's something that you need to work on, then check out my video on how to learn the 2-5-1 in all keys, or all my videos on the major and minor 2-5-1s. I'll put them in the description. You want to know tritones like that, you want to know your 2-5s like that too. Anyway, don't forget to grab the shapes PDF, the chord chart, all from my website. If you're new here, thank you for checking out my channel. My name's Andy. I do jazz guitar lessons every Wednesday and Saturday. Please consider subscribing, leave me a comment, hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.